In this episode, we're going to take a photograph that looks like this, and we're going to make it look like this. If you want a copy of the source image so you can follow along in Lightroom, go to patreon.com/EWJ. Click join for free, and you can sign in with Facebook, with Google, or you can just enter in an email and give it a password, and poof, you're there. Look for my posting from June 16th, 2024, and you'll be able to download this image. Now, disclaimer here, Patreon does not allow me to put TIFF or RAW images up there, so this is a PNG file, so it's not going to have as much information in it for you to work with. So that kind of shows you why you need to be looking at shooting in RAW constantly. So going back over here to Lightroom, once you've go ahead and pause this video, download the image, get it set up in Lightroom, and then continue on this video. Okay, hopefully you're all back. Now, let's take a look at what we can do here in Lightroom. First of all, I'm going to crop this thing. The reason for the cropping is that there's a lot of stuff here that's just not going to be of interest to me. So I'm going to go to the cropping tool, and I'm going to do a square crop on this. Now, the thing is that it's still a bit off center, so I'm going to shrink the cropping down just a bit, and I'm going to raise this up so that we got the bottom of the rocking chairs in the image, and then I'm going to close the crop. All right, so what we have going on here is we have the area frame that we want to work with. Now I need to try and tease out the details out of that dark area without blowing up the light area. A little bit hard to do at times, but let's see what we can do here. So looking at this, I'm going to just increase the exposure. Now this increases the overall exposure. It does bring out what I am looking for in the dark regions, but it overexposed the light regions. So that's really not going to be an option. Let's see if we can use a mask to try and grab just those darker areas and see if we can pull those things out. So let's see what happens here. All right, let's see if we can kind of select out the middle, the bright area of this photo. This is going to be kind of hard because there's both light and dark, and the dark, of course, matches everything that's in here. So let's see what we can do here. I am going to start off here with a radial mask. This is a round area, so I think this might help us out here. So I'm going to go ahead and draw out my mask in this area here. And now when it comes to the feathering here, this is the problem. I think I might have made this mask just a little bit too big. So let's trim it in a tad. Let's bring this in. There we go. So there is a well, let's see, we got a little too light up there, so let's adjust the feathering just a tad, and then we're going to move this up. Okay, that's better. Let's see, we got a little bit of it that's not covered at the bottom, so we're going to extend out the mask. We're going to have to do some more filtering here of this layer. But I'm trying to get it so there's less that I have to take out. All right, now the thing is that I have some areas on the chairs, on the wall in front of us that I don't want to have selected right now. I'm trying to get just that bright area in there. So let's see if there's anything that we can do to try and make this task a little bit easier here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do an intersection with a brush, and let's see if we can get rid of some of these larger areas that I don't want part of this. So I'm going to select the parts I want to get rid of. So we're going to go across the bottom here. I'm going to try and go into some of this areas up here. Again, I'm trying to get that dark stuff that I want to make sure is not included in this mask. Even though it's been included right now, we're going to try and get it out of this mask. Just be careful with it. There we go. Now we also have got this right here, and I got to go really slow. Let me shrink my circle down just a tad. I'm doing Control and rolling of the mouse wheel allows you to do a resize of your brush area. We've got this down in here. I can see it's kind of in the gradient, and I want to make it 100% part of what I don't want in the what I don't want to be in the mask. There we go. All right, and then we're going to get in this area here. Let me go down a little bit because I lost my feather and I want to have a little more natural look. I had too hard of an edge when I did these. I accidentally hit shift and that took away my feathering. So I'm going to go back through here and get a little bit more of a feathered edge. Try and keep more of the natural look going. All right, and then in here, I can see that I need to go through and just make sure we're good. And okay, there we go. Let's invert the mask and let's see the mask we just created. Let's invert it. And there we go. Whoa, went a little crazy there. All right, we pretty much got it. Now I'm going to admit I got a little extra here on the edges. So let me see if I can take that away while it's in its invert mode. Oh, nope, not going to do it that way. So let's re-invert it back. Invert. And then let me see if we get a little closer. I've got a little feathering going on now, so that should help. And let's just kind of zoom in a bit so you guys can see this. So I'm using a mouse. If I had a drawing pad, which I do, but it's hooked up to a machine that I'm using for another production right now. But a hand drawing tool might be easier than a mouse. And let me try and get the corner. So I'm going to shrink this down and get the corner. All right, there we go. Let's go ahead and now invert this particular mask. And what we can see is now we've got the entire thing is the mask that we're using is focused only in that area, pretty much in that area. I'm going to invert that mask. And now I have the darker areas, or primarily the dark areas. So I'm going to take away my overlay. And now I am going to increase my exposure and see what happens. Now I do still have a couple of areas there in the brighter zone that is still being affected, but for the sake of this video, obviously this takes a lot to do something like this takes a lot of time to do. So I would go in even tighter to make sure I had my mask in the right locations. But taking a look at this right now, it is definitely looking much better. We have details pulled out of the darker areas of this photo so we can see both the light and the dark. Now, a lot of people might do an HDR, high dynamic range photo, and you most certainly can do that. But if you didn't do HDR like I did, your raw data is what you're going to be calling upon to pull out those details. All right, everybody, hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. Over the next 2 weeks, I have 2 more follow-along episodes to help show you how to use some of Lightroom's features to improve photos to make them better. Take care. See you all next week.